you buying $100,000 house, a lot of people don't got access to $100,000 credit card.
Right.
There are credit cards like Chase can give you that, but a lot of people don't have that.
Right.
So what we do is we blend the funding. So we might use hard money lender, which makes us have a 20% down payment, and then the 20% come from the credit card. So let's say if I'm buying a house for $100,000, the lender says I need 20% down payment. That's $20,000.
Yep.
I might go to Chase, might give me a $20,000 card. They pull from Experian. Or Truist might give me a $30,000 line of credit. They pull from Equifax.
Yep.
Or Key Bank might give me a $20,000. They gave me a $20,000 line of credit years ago. I used that to buy my commercial building.
There you go.
So to cover the down payment, they pull from Equifax. And now you just take that money and then cover the down payment. So the hard money lender covers the 80%, the credit card covers the 20%. So when you buying a house, when people say buy a house is no money, it's not that it costs no money, it just then wasn't your money. So now I just mix the two funding, and then that's how they're going to cover that. And how you liquidate the cards, like it's a bank in Philadelphia, it's called.
Listen, if you're an entrepreneur struggling to get funding because of your bad credit, then this video is for you. You see, I understand that when banks deny businesses for funding, they're not just denying businesses the capital they need, but they're also denying business owners the resources that they need to build the business of their dreams. And as a business owner, I've seen this happen over and over and over and over again, but I want you to know that there's a solution. Because here at Takeoff Financial, we've helped countless entrepreneurs just like you go from having poor personal credit and not being able to access funding to having perfect personal credit that they were able to leverage to access 5 to 6 figures in funding, and we want you to be the next one. So click the link above or below this video to secure your free consultation, and we'll see you on the other side of success, family. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Marvin Francois Show, your number one source for all things business, finance, and investing. And today, is a very special day because our guest today is a father, investor, entrepreneur, mentor, coach, and real estate expert extraordinaire. To date, our guest has done well over $8 million in residential and commercial real estate acquisitions and has leveraged his expertise to teach others all across the country on how they can do the same. Whether he's hosting the Funded and Closed podcast to educate new entrepreneurs on how to close the financial gap between where they are and where they want to be, or providing value in his community, the Funded and Closed family, to educate investors on how to find, fund, and flip their first deal, the value that this gentleman provides to anyone looking to win in business is why his success in the space isn't coincidence, it's confirmation. Ladies and gentlemen, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, I'm here with the one, the only, my guy, Mr. Derek Boone. What's going on, family? How are you?
What's up, bro? Yo, how you do all that?
You know, it's repetitions, it's practice.
You sound like one of them guys, like, you sound like a radio host type of.
Listen, man, it's I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. And when you have real estate royalty, you just got to make sure you treat them right. So that's all, man. How are you?
I'm good. That was smooth. Now you got me on my podcast. Now I got to get my whole little thing together.
We're going to work on it. I'm going to help you out, man. I'm going to help you out. First and foremost, welcome to the Marvin Francois Show, brother. How do you feel?
I feel great. I'm honored to be on here. I appreciate it. I watch your stuff, so being on here feel good.
Thank you, man.
Real good.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You know, I'm all about providing my audience as much value as I possibly can. And you know, real estate is a very heavy topic amongst my audience, and I always try and get heavy hitters on here. You know, you've been on before, but it was with a group. I said I got to bring him back by himself so we could really break down this real estate game for individuals who want to get in here and not just survive, but thrive. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm excited to have you on. I know I did a decent job introducing you, but nobody knows Boone better than the man, the myth, the legend himself. For those who are unfamiliar, let's get them familiar. Who exactly is Derek Boone?
Shoot, you probably said it already, but like you said, father first. I think that's the most important thing to me, honestly. To be honest, that's what I do all this stuff for. It's funny thing is, when you first start getting it, I feel like having a kid gonna make you do two things. He's gonna make you want to grind super duper hard, grind smarter. It made me grind smarter. So like I'm home at 5 o'clock. When he get out of school at 5, I'm home at 5. You can't even find me. I'm in the house from 5 until the next day. That's just how I operate. But some people would make them want to like run around and do a whole bunch of stuff. It just makes me like from 9 to 5, from the time I drop them off to the time I pick them up. Like that's the time I work. After that, it's pretty much all for it because I'm locked in with him. Or when he go to sleep, that's when I get back doing whatever I got to do. But father first, real estate expert, I would honestly say. I got started in real estate in 2017, and I've only been doing this. Like, you got other little side, little business, but this is my main thing. Everything I do is real estate. And I think that helped me because now I don't think it's very few people that know this better than me because I've only been doing this. Like, you haven't heard me say, oh, we doing credit repair today or we selling weave today. Like, it's only been this.
Right.
And also, I think it made me, like, people trust me a whole lot more because they had never seen me switch lanes and different things like that. But I got started in 2017 as a real estate agent. And to be honest with you, the only reason I started that is because I didn't have a lot of money. So, you know, a real estate agent, you help somebody else sell their house and you just get a percentage.
Right.
But the person that taught me how to become a real estate agent, I told them from day one, I said, look, I'm going to go ahead and make a couple dollars and I'm getting them out of here because I want to buy houses.
Right.
I went to a home buying seminar. That's how I first found out all about this. And the guy that went to the home buying seminar, because I'm trying to buy a duplex, and he was like, you should try this, get this a shot on this side. I'm like, bro, that's not what I'm here for. He said, no, I think you should really get us a shot. He said, the way you came up to me and the way you like wasn't scared to like communicate, I think you work well with other people, so you should get us a shot. So I did that. And then I got licensed 2017. I failed my test 9 times. So I went in there thinking I was gonna pass it. Like before all this, I went to Penn State Abington. I had a 0.8 GPA. It just like that school stuff wasn't clicking for me. So I finished up there, and then that's when I took my test, took the classes, 2 classes, and then that's when it took me like 9 times to pass the test. Once I finally passed it, I got licensed April 2017. But from March 2017, I sold my first house April, and then by December, I sold like 20-some houses. And then that's when everybody in my office was trying to figure out like how the hell you did this just from grinding. And because before I did this, I worked at a retirement home. Before I worked at retirement, I worked at McDonald's. So me hustling, doing that stuff, serving old people, working at McDonald's, making 1,000 burgers at one time, serving 1,000 old people at one time, selling somebody a house, and I'm making way more money. That's the way I look at it. I was doing harder stuff already than this, so it kind of flew for me naturally. And then the next year we sold more. The next year we sold more. And then that's when I hired a team because you can only go but so far by yourself. So that's when I put agents under me. And then one of my friends, which I bumped into him at the office, I made like $8,000 or $7,000 on his deal. He made like 17. I had a suit on. He had basketball shorts on. And I'm like, what did you do? Like, we did the same amount of work. He said, wholesale. I'm like, wholesale? What the hell is that? And he was like, you know, you buy house, you basically middleman houses. So he broke that down to me, and then that's when I switched gears and I was doing that and kind of left the agent thing alone. And then, you know, eventually I'm like, okay, I'm helping all these other people make money because I'm selling them the house, and then they sell it for more. I make 10 grand or whatever I make, 15 grand, and then they go ahead and sell it for 50, 60, 70, 100,000, or they'll keep it. And that's what really, it wasn't even them making a whole lot more money. It was the thought process of me like, dang, my bag stops here, and I got to start from scratch every single month. Right. And I remember it was December, my birthday, December 17th, and I had like $60,000 in deals just terminate. They just all title. People don't want to buy the house no more. Right. And I told myself, I said, I'm never going to let this happen again. So I said, let me stop just flipping them, and I'm going to start keeping them. And then that's when I start keeping houses so I can get rents and stuff like that. Man. And that's how we kind of fast forward. So when people say like $8 million in real estate, that was from like 2020, 2021 to now. So we just was buying stuff like back to back to back to back to back.
I love that. Now, I love everything that you just broke down, and you actually jumped me to the punch because people hear $8 million in real estate. You know, when we talk about prominent investors out of the Philadelphia area, your name is always one that gets thrown out in there. I appreciate that. But there was so much that had to happen before you got to that point, right? Like you said, attending Penn State Abington, you know, ultimately flunking out of school, 0.8 GPA. You find yourself working at a retirement home. If I remember correctly, you were making about $10 an hour at the time. Yeah. You understand? Fast forward a little bit, you stumble into the real estate space. You don't take the exam, not just, you know, 1 time or 2 times, 9 times, nearly 10 times in a row that you had to take the exam before you ultimately pass. Most people, they'll put their hands on something maybe like 1, 2, 3 times max, and if it don't work out, all right, this probably ain't for me. What was it at that moment in time about real estate for you that you knew like, nah, I gotta stay? It's either this or it's nothing, because that's ultimately what it seemed like it was.
I think it come down to 2 things. One, you gotta play mind games with yourself. So you ever heard of Ed Milet? Yeah. The one more. Like, yeah. I believe in Like, for example, if I had a rough day, like, man, it's like 1 more hour and it's going to get better.
Yeah.
I'd play mind games myself all the time. Like, you might be in a gym. Dang, man, that's 1 more mile. I can knock that out. 1 more set. I can knock it out.
Yep.
So, or like 1 more person I got to talk to get them to buy their house. They say no. Man, 1 more person. And they're going to say, yeah. You got to play mind games. So that's what I was doing every time I took the test. The first 3-4 times, I was walking and walking out thinking I was just bored. I can just do that. But after that, I'm like, let me take it 1 more time, because 1 more time might be to change my life, which it did.
Right.
Like, that changed everything for me. So that, and then the second thing is, I don't have, like, for example, I don't have rich parents. I don't have, I didn't have a corporate background. So my job before this was a retirement home, and I worked at McDonald's. I don't have, my credit score like 500. I didn't have like a lot. So at this point, well, I'm gonna not do this and go do what? You see what I mean?
Right.
I didn't have a lot of backup
Options.
plan. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't go apply for Comcast and get a decent salary job. Like, so it's like either I gotta finish this out or not. And then that's pretty much it.
I love it. So, once again, fast forward up until now, you've established a really great, space for yourself in the real estate industry. And I wanted to bring you on here, not just to talk about what you've done, but to also help other individuals that are trying to do what you've done, and probably even more than that. And really break this game down for individuals that are looking to either get started in the space or they're already in the space, but they just been bumping their head over and over and over again because they just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I want to go ahead and break that down for the people. Let's start off talking about the deal. Because one of the biggest things, I'm not in the real estate space, but from high-level individuals that I've sat down with like yourself that are, the number one thing I hear that's the hardest thing to do in the space is finding the deal. Finding the deal. So if I'm new to the real estate space, what's that first step that I need to take to secure my first investment property?
I'm actually glad you said that, because I didn't come here to talk about me.
Okay.
I want to talk about some plays. So the first thing you do is the deal, is the opportunity. If you don't have no opportunity, nothing else matters.
Right.
Because you could say you buy a house, like, and there's a lot of people do, I want to find somebody that buys a house. I want to find the money. But if you don't have the money, if you don't have the opportunity, the money means nothing.
Right.
There are more people with money than it is opportunities. So that's why I tell people, like, focus on finding an opportunity first. You put up in the sky, people won't want to lend you money, different things.
Right.
So, or a partner or stuff like that. So the best way, when I first got started, I used to do something called driving for dollars.
Okay.
So I had this down to a science. I would take an hour a day and I would get about 100 houses. So ride around up and down blocks, write down addresses, the house that look a little messed up. And that's not the best use of your time. My brother always says how we can get the highest and best use of our time. So think about it. I would get 100 houses every hour. 2 hours, I get about 200 houses. Then I got it. So that means I would get 200 houses a day, 7 days a week. So I get 1,400 houses in a week.
Right.
Remind you, I wrote them down. So then I got to take them to the computer. Then I got to go and get the phone numbers. I got to get the addresses. This back when I used to look envelopes. It was a lot.
Right.
Like, I'm actually getting stressed out thinking about it. Like, I'm talking about, it was a lot. So I would, so fast forward, I found out about this website called PropStream.
Okay.
PropStream was a game changer for me because you could type in a zip code and then you have 20,000 houses come up. So when I first found out, I'm like, I know I ain't just pressed enter and all these houses came up. So then the other piece about that is, right, when you want to find a deal, you got to break it into 2 phases. Phase 1 is the type of house. Phase 2 is the type of person. A lot of people that find deals, they're not that good, or they're not taking it to the next level because they don't separate it. So think about this, right? You got to identify what type of house you want to buy.
Right.
So, for example, if I type in a zip code, right, what's the zip code?
11, let's say 11214.
Right. I typed in that and whatever you said, I typed that in, and then now I got 20,000 houses come up, but then I got single family, I got multifamily, I got commercials, I got gas stations, I got warehouses, I got land, I got all this stuff come up, but I might be looking for a 3-bed, 1-bed house. So what you do is on that website, it's a filters button. When you hit that filter button, now you can trim down to, I'm only looking for 3 beds, 1-bed houses. So that's phase 1, you finding the type of deal you're looking for. But then also you got to get into phase. So now you got the idea, but then the phase 2 is, which is the second most important part, the person. Real estate is a 2-way street.
Yeah.
So just because I want to buy your house, that don't mean I'm going to get it. It's not stock. Stocks, I can just buy anything or I can sell anything. You got to want to sell it to me. So I got tired of calling people and text messaging people say I want to buy your house. And people was like, no, wrong number, this, that, and that. So I thought about, like, how can I get the best use of my time? How can I make this better? So I started using the same filters option, but building out the perfect person. So, and this is, I found this out, right? This is a funny story, but
Yep.
I found out about building a perfect avatar, a perfect person when I was a real estate agent. There's people laughing at me, but my perfect client was a woman that was over 30 that was single.
Okay.
As funny as this sound, every house I sold was that. When I dealt with, because I'm 30 now, so I was 23 or whatever. When I dealt with guys and I'm got a little bit of emotion, it's that ego thing.
Right.
So they never really want to work with me. Or when I do work with them, they trying to tell me what to do, but you come to me for advice. Then when I dealt with people in a relationship, then it was the man, which you like, it was
just a
always
lot.
issues. But when I dealt with a woman that was single and over 30, she just was like, okay, whatever you say, this is your field. This is the things that I'm looking for. And these are the things that I'm trying to do. And it was like, I'm taking your advice because I come to you for that. I was selling houses back to back. So I made sure I was only targeting that. As crazy as it sounds, it was the fact. So I took that into the real estate investing stuff. Okay, who do I really feel like working with? Okay, I like working with people that have tenant problems. I don't mind dealing with tenants. I'm literally dealing with a tenant problem right now, and that's about to be handled today. So, and I actually just evicted a tenant 2 months ago. So I don't have problems dealing with those. I don't mind dealing with those problems. And also, I don't mind dealing with people that's like living out of town. Or dealing with older homeowners. So now on the filters tab, I can go ahead and say, I want to find somebody that own their house for at least 15 years. By default, they own their house 15 years, they're probably a little what? Older.
Yeah.
Or I might do in a search box, hey, the house is in Philly, but they live in LA, out of state homeowner. They probably getting calls about, high grass, liens, crackheads breaking in the house, and the neighbors calling somebody in your house again, stealing your pipes. So I started targeting that. So now when I do make the phone call, it was like I had a cheat code. I already knew what they wanted because I built it out like that. You get what I'm saying? And then also too, this is a real game. What I really started doing, what took it to the next level, I used to only search people that tried to sell their house within the last 12 months. So you got this thing called, if you're my real estate agent, right?
Yes, sir.
And you listed my house and you put it up for 300, right? We in New York, $1 million. And it sits for 12 months, it doesn't sell. Our contract expires. I can either renew the contract with you or I can say, I'm cool. So when I say I'm cool with the contract, then it expires and the listing turns failed. You can hit the failed listings button and only target all the houses that tried to sell in the last 12 months, but they couldn't. So then I would literally just text them, hey, do you still own? When I would just copy and paste the same message, they would text back, hey, yes. Okay, here's an offer, but the house is already on the market for $1 million. I would just shoot 700,000 and we just work our way up from there. And I just was doing that back to back to back. Because to me, it was like, well, I talk to people that don't know if they want to sell the house. Let me just go straight to the people that want to sell.
Right.
And that's how we kind of was buying 2, 3, 4 houses a month.
And this is all just using PropStream, just by in and of
directly on the
itself.
website.
So we use PropStream, and we want to identify two things: the type of property we're looking for, but the type of person that's attached to that property.
The exact perfect person you want to solve.
For
serve.
Your target person that was it was plug and play was women over 30 who were single.
No, wait, hold up. That was for when I was a real estate agent. Like when an investing tip, it was more so tired landlords.
Got you. There you go.
And people that were trying to sell their house, but they couldn't sell it.
Got you.
And the other piece about that too is you gotta think a real estate agent gets paid based off the percentage of the house.
Right.
So now if I call you trying to sell your house and you gotta pay the agent 6%, you deal with me, you don't gotta pay the 6% no more.
So now you're even more incentivized now to go ahead and sell the house. I was already trying to get rid of the house, right? To your point, if we're following that failed listing model you talked about where it was on the market for 12 months, I couldn't sell it. Now I'm even more incentivized because like, dang, nobody wanted to buy my house.
Yeah.
I don't have to pay the 6%. I have somebody that's ready to get it off my hands. It gives you more negotiating power to where you can go ahead and get your deal.
Yeah.
This is good. This is good. This is good. Okay, cool.
And that's how a lot of people, I hope, that's how they get their houses too.
So now, let's say we're looking for properties. We're clear on like the type of people that we want to look for and different types of properties, what type of property that we want to get. How are we now, what are the numbers behind all this? Because in business, I don't care if you're in real estate, if you got an ice cream shop, you do credit, numbers is everything. How do we analyze, once we find a property, once we find a motivated seller, how do we analyze a deal to know if it's a good deal or a bad deal?
So, I wish I had a piece of paper. So the best way to go ahead and do this is you figure out what the ARV is first. The ARV is after repair value. So that means once the thing is fully fixed up, everything is brand new, it's worth this. So let's say we in Brooklyn. Let's say we buying this house in Ohio. It's $100,000.
Yes, sir.
But when it's fixed up, it's gonna be worth $250. Right. So that's the ARV. After it's repaired, this is the value, $250,000. So what you go ahead and do is you times that number by 70%. So basically that 70 to 100 is that pretty much like that profit margin. So you multiply it by 70%. That's the math you want to be all in on. So let's, for the sake of conversation,
let's do it.
Right? If the house is worth $250,000 when it's done, we timed it by 70%. We at $175. So that means I can buy it for $100 and put $75 into it. I can buy it for $150, put $25 into it. I can buy it for $25 and put $150 into it. As long as I don't go over that $175, I'm cool. So, right, and then what I do is I do 65% because now it gives me even extra cushion.
Okay.
And in the market we in right now, where interest rates are a little bit higher, everything's a little, just funny money, you want to give yourself a little extra cushion so that way you could trip and fall. You still got room to make sense. A lot of investors mess up because they run their numbers right at the brim. So that means they sneeze, it's like, oh, shoot, I'm over budget.
Right.
So me, I can sneeze 5 times and I still got room left. So what happens is now you all in at 175. The next thing is when you bring your contractor in. So when you walking through a house, before you put that offer in, you might want to bring somebody in. Me, I know my stuff. I don't need to bring anybody. But if you're new, bring somebody that actually knows the game and can come in and say, okay, it's going to cost about 30, 40, 50,000 to do this. So now you take that 175. If the contractor says it's going to cost 50, you literally just subtract the 50,000. So now I know it's called MAYO, max allowable offer. The max I can offer is 125. So you start in maybe 100 or 110, but my max is 125. If I go a penny over that, now I'm losing money. That makes sense.
So pretty much, once again, as the number that usually is used when doing the math on this is 75%. But to your point, you're a little bit more conservative in that you like to do your numbers around the 65% mark, which is actually better for newer investors as well, because
you're safe.
You're gonna bump your head, like you're gonna mess up a little bit here and there. So you give yourself that added cushion to know not only are my numbers right, but if push come to shove and something falls out of line, I'm good, like from top to bottom with the deal.
Not to mention, that's just the front piece. The other piece of it helps with your financing. So there are certain lenders, like there's a lender in Philadelphia. They actually lend Philly, Jersey, like pretty much the tri-state. It's called Crowdcopia.
Say that again?
Crowdcopia. So if your numbers are 65% of the deal, what I already do, they fund 100%. So you have no down payment. So as you making the numbers work better for you, it works better for the lending as well. So now you don't have no down payment. Or I get the deal so cheap, now I can go ahead and possibly bring a partner in as a financial partner. I just need you to cover the down payment because there's enough room for all of us to win. Yo, Marv, I got this deal, right? Check this out. We're going to buy it for 50. We're going to put 50 into it. My down payment, 20,000. I found the deal. I got the lender. I'll fix it up. I'll do everything. I just need you to cover the 20. I'll call you when it's done. You're going to wire that money.
I'm sending it.
But now it's enough room because I got it so cheap we can both eat. But if it's tight, I can't bring somebody in because like, we're going to split 10,000. It's like, how we going to do that? Especially if it takes 3 months. So what you do is when you get your profit, you divide that by how many months it took you. So then 10,000 over 3 months is like, dang, I probably could just work the job. This is how you think about it.
So do the numbers change? Because I know in the real estate space you could either buy and hold a property and then get that residual income on a monthly basis, or you can buy it and then flip it for a higher margin. Well, we're using that 65 to 75% number to do
65, 70.
65 to 70.
Yep. 65
to 70. Let's say just to say 65 to be safe. Does that number fluctuate depending on if we know we're going into a property to fix and flip it versus if we're going into a property? Like, how does our analyzation of a deal change depending on what our ultimate end goal is for that property?
So, me personally, I think that the number should still stay, stagnant.
Okay.
And fixed. That's me personally. I think the number that changes is the rehab number.
Okay.
Every city rehab is different. In Philly, New York, we got brick, we got a lot of cement, we got basements. When you go down Virginia, they build right up on a slab and they 1-story. So the construction is a whole lot different than it is in Philly. And also they use a lot of siding. We have a lot of brick. So the cement, the brick, the basement work, adding extra floors, all of that stuff is what really costs a lot of money. But when you building right up on a slab, you cutting out the basement. That's tens of thousands of dollars right there already cut out. So I think the number that changes is the rehab number, but I still would do that 65 and 70%, even though whether you buying and holding or you fixing and flipping. If you fixing and flipping, you really, so the thing is, right, when you're doing real estate, your money ends the second you sell the house. Think about it. If I buy and hold a house, I still got it for the next year. So
Right.
even if I don't make as much money on this, I might make money next year. I might make money the year after that.
Right.
Depreciation, rent increases.
Yep.
I might get a house reappraised. I got a house, it was worth $500,000. I got it appraised 2 months ago. It came in at $665. So in 3 years, it went up $150.
Insane.
So it's like as long as you never sell it, the money is still available. But when you sell, it's done. The numbers gotta work the first time around. So if that's being said, that means you really gotta make sure it's tight, because like I have no room to lose because I don't get no second chances at this. So with buy and holding, I think you might be able to stretch the math. If you talk to real buy and hold investors, they might be willing to stretch it because like I know I'm gonna get it back next year. But you talk to anybody that fix and flip, like no, we gotta get this stuff on sale because every penny over is penny I'm losing.
Talk a little bit about, because a lot of people talk about all the sexy parts of real estate in terms of just acquisition. Talk a little bit about title, because that's also a very important part of the acquisition process that I don't hear many investors talk about. And I've heard some very interesting stories about people who got caught up trying to negate it. What is your experience? Well, for those who don't know, explain what it is and why it's important to the acquisition process. And if I'm a new investor, how I can go about making sure that part of the process is taken care of.
So what title basically is the background search on a house. So like basically, if I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to make sure I run title on it, because if I run title on it, that's going to tell me like a Carfax. It's going to tell me all the stuff with the house, all the history. If you buy a house like a quick claim deed, basically like we just going to do this, we're going to go downtown and we're going to change the paperwork to change the deed or everything over to me. The problem is anything that comes with the house is now your problem.
Yeah.
So that person owes $10,000 in back taxes, that's your problem now. That person has all these liens on, that's your problem now. That person has all this other stuff, that's your problem now. And then also what can happen is if that person has a brother or sister, you got to handle that because they weren't really the person that's supposed to sell the house to begin with without those other signatures, which I've seen this stuff done. So you want to make sure you get run title and get title insurance, because now if something happens, now the title company has to handle that because they gave insurance on this house. But the other piece behind it is you don't want to sign for something. This is the three biggest investments people going to make is business, house, and car.
Yeah.
So you're going to put the biggest thing you're going to ever do in your life and not get any type of insurance on it or not do a background search on it.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So now what you want to make sure you're doing is running title, so that way if you find out on the title report, oh, they owe $5,000 in back taxes. Hey, just heads up, I'm buying this house for $100. You know you're getting $95, right? Because $5,000 off the top is going to your taxes. Oh, you got a $7,000 trash lien, however that happened. You getting $93 because $7,000 is covering that. That's not my problem. That came before you.
Yeah.
And it's important to know that like a lot of the houses I buy, I'm just be honest, some of the houses I buy is like straight from like crackheads. Like people that's just like, I'm just trying to get rid of this. I bought this years ago, things happen. And they might have so much back stuff on the house that they don't even know about it because it's just been sitting abandoned. So you really don't want to take on something, because I had this one guy, he had $30,000. I was buying a house for $31,000 off him. He had like $14,000 in water bills, back taxes and stuff. And also title is going to help you have a clear conversation. Yo, bro, listen, you owe this. I'm going over the report with them. This, and this. On closing day, you're going to get about $16,000. Are you cool with that? Before we move in further, like yeah. Look at this. This is what you owe. This is from the last 7 years of you not paying your bill and this, that, and that. And it helps because you don't want to have the issues on your hand, and you don't want to have the issues on closing day when they're like, yo, why my check short?
Yeah.
Because that will happen. That 100% will happen.
This is good. This is good.
38%. That's the amount of entrepreneurs that are struggling to get their business funded because their personal credit isn't where it needs to be. Now, you can look into alternatives like corporate credit cards and vendor accounts, but the truth is the easiest way to get access to 5 to 6 figures in funding is to have good personal credit. As an entrepreneur, the stress of trying to build a successful business is already enough as is. So why work harder than you need to when you can simplify the funding process by getting your credit restored? My company, Takeoff Financial, has served hundreds of entrepreneurs just like you by helping them avoid the pain of getting denied for business funding by restoring their personal credit, and we want you to be the next one. So click the link above or below this video to secure your free consultation, and let's put you in position to get you funding that your business needs.
So acquisition side of things we're covered. We understand resources that we could use like PropStream to find a property, having things in place like title to make sure that we're not, falling short on when come closing day, and just the overall numbers that we need to know and knowing whether we have a good deal or a bad deal. Let's talk about the financing side of things. Financing is interesting because I've been following you for a little bit now. I know that one of the key things you talk about in terms of different ways to finance the purchase of an investment property, it's like 3 main ways. It's hard money, private money, and traditional money. For those who don't know, what is the difference between all three, and what is the best route for us to go as new investors looking to secure our first property?
All right, so the difference between the three is the first one, like I said, is hard money. Hard money is basically asset-based lending. So lenders that lend off the asset, not you. So if you buy a house, FHA, your personal house, they won't ask for your last 2 years tax returns, last 2 years W-2s, last 60 days bank statements, last 2 pay stubs, your blood type, what's your daughter's name, what's your mom's name. They're going to literally ask for every single thing on the sun. When you go with a lender, they're asking for the LLC documents, and because you can't buy it in your personal name. And the LLC can be made yesterday. Sometimes I buy a house, I might have got the LLC made 3 days ago. And they're gonna ask for what can it rent for, what is it gonna be worth when it's done, and what can it sell for. And they want to see comps, comparable houses that prove that number. That's all they really care about, because they lending off of the asset, not off of you. So that makes it better for a lot of individuals, because now it's like, okay, I may not have last 2 years tax returns, I may not have all those other things, but I can still get in the game. Especially a lot of investor-friendly, well, they all investor-friendly, but a lot of newbie-friendly investors, like it's a lender in Philadelphia called Jumpstart Germantown.
Say that again?
Jumpstart Germantown.
Okay.
So they lend to new investors. Actually, the guy that owns the company, he actually started because he didn't see a lot of, it's funny, he's a Jewish guy, but he didn't see a lot of black and brown people in these, rooms. So he started lending to minorities to help them get more, and he offers like a lot of different stuff, but that's good. And also, here's the hack: I can't speak for all, because I don't know how many lending companies in the world, but so when you buying and holding a property, how do you pay back the lender? Come you Marv, you supposed to know this. So if somebody lend me $100,000 and I'm not selling the property, I gotta pay you back the $100,000. The way you pay back the $100,000 is by doing a refinance.
Okay.
You need credit to do a refinance, right?
Yes, sir.
So if you lending the money to me and I'm telling you that I'm going to keep it, you're gonna be like, well, I need to see your credit because I need to ensure that you can refinance later on.
Right.
But if I'm flipping a house, that means I'm just fixing it up and I'm putting it in the market and someone else is going to buy it. I don't necessarily need credit.
Gotcha.
So a lot of these lenders, what they're going to ask you, what is your plan? Are you buying and holding this, or are you flipping it? If you say flip them, sometimes they don't even ask you for your credit. Because like, it's no point. You're not going to use it anyway. I can't speak for all, but some of them.
Right.
Like Jumpstart Germantown, they don't ask you for your credit when you're flipping. There's a couple other lenders, they don't ask you for your credit when you're flipping. So for new investors that just getting started, maybe doing a flip may be good, especially if you don't have all the credentials and everything. And then a lot of lenders, when you buying like FHA, you can't buy a house with lended money. So all these credit card hacks that people talking about, you can't do that when you're doing like more of a traditional way. So with that being said, if you utilize a lender, they don't care where the money come from. You could have stripped for the money. You got credit cards. You could have sold drugs for the money. You could have done anything. As long as you got your cash on closing, they don't care where it came from. So now that's why the hard money lenders is good, because now you can literally structure it to make it make sense for you. The only catch is it's a little more expensive. Traditional interest rate might be 6%. Hard money might be 12%. But, and it's interest only. Traditional is, principal and interest.
Right.
And you paying down both. The hard money lender is interest only. So that means that I'm only giving the money to pay them back. It's not bringing down my loan. But if I'm in this 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, who really cares? Like, I'm in and I'm out.
Right.
So you want to, for newbie investors, I advise getting into something may take 3 months max. Don't get, like, I got houses, it took me a year. Like commercial build, like some bigger stuff. And I don't advise that because, like, I got some mortgages, it's $3,000 a month every single month. You might be doing 3 of them at the time, 3, 6, 9. If I tell you how much money I got spending mortgages, bro, you'll be like, crazy.
Start spending.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like you gotta shoot. I don't even want to get into the math, but that's the thing with the hard money lenders. So they're great, but you gotta make it work for you.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? But that's another reason why it's good to get the deal cheap. Because if I get the deal 5 or 10% cheap, let's say I got the deal at 60% ARV or 65% ARV, the lender's gonna lend at 70. So that means that extra 5 and 10% I got of gap. What I do is I say, look, I'm gonna throw that gap right back at you. I got 5 or 10% of gap. I want to use that to cover my payments for the next 12 months. So don't charge me no mortgage. Flip that right back on you. Or I want to use that gap to cover my down payment. So let's say, for example, they're lending up to $80,000. Let's say they're lending up to $80,000 for the house, but I got the house at $70,000. That's a $10,000 gap. Look, Linda, let's do this. Let's take the $10,000 and I want you to take that $10,000 of equity and cover my next $10,000 worth of mortgage payments. So don't call me for the mortgage. Y'all take it out of that little contingency. Or look, I want to go ahead and pull that money. I want to help use that to cover my down payment. So that's why we start with the deal, because the deal can help you play with the math. It's more than just getting a house cheaper for you. It's because I can now make money come out of thin air by pulling it out the crib. And then that's hard money. The second thing is partnerships and private money. Private money is basically I know somebody with some money and then I'm borrowing it from them. The problem is people think when you hear private money, you think of what?
For me personally, I'm thinking of like a big firm or something like that that's separate. But from sitting down with investors like yourself, bro, private money could be anybody. It could be a next door neighbor.
That's the point I'm trying to make. So a lot of people think private money is like Jay-Z.
Yeah.
You know, Bill Mark Cuban and stuff like that. But that's wrong. My one friend, his private money lender is his grandma.
Crazy.
His grandma lends off her retirement account because when a new investor typically is going to need $20,000 to $30,000 down payment. You don't need a billionaire to get $20,000, $30,000. So he literally borrows $20,000 from his grandma retirement accounts, take the 20 and then put her back 25. He just does that over and over and over again. For example, you can really create your own private money lenders from out your phone. So what I would do is, this is what I do. I would text a group message and I would say, yo, what's up? What's your credit score? Let's talk about financial literacy. Everybody in the group message, same group message, y'all talking about these trips y'all never go on. Y'all talking about
basketball games.
Y'all talk about all of this stuff that y'all, first off, I don't even watch sports like that no more because LeBron is a billionaire. I'm not. So there's no point for me to really be tapping in on. I don't sports bet. I don't do none of that stuff. So I'm not saying it's wrong. Some people make money off it. It's just I don't do that.
Right.
So I text in that group message, who got good credit? I've done this with a lot of people. People text back 5, 6s. Yo, bro, you should go in and get that fixed. Somebody texts back 750. Send a private message. Yo, listen, here's 2, 3 credit cards you should hit off. They might give you 10, 20,000 each. They come back, yo, bro, that worked, 10, 20, 30,000. They got 60,000. Yo, I got another move. Lend me the 20 off that card. I'm gonna buy this house and I'm gonna give you back X. And I do that all the time. And so I just created private money off of my own from friends. And the best part about it is that them credit cards are 0% interest for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. So they lending money that they got for free, and I'm giving it back to them before they got to pay interest on it.
Yep. And they're just sitting there. They don't got to do anything. They're just giving.
They just got a free 5,000, whatever it is.
Just chilling. Just leveraging what they already had and they weren't using. And that's a perfect segue too, because you talked about private, we talked about hard. You've also, going to the more so on the business credit side, and I'm going to swing back to hard money in a second, but going to the business credit side, you made a video and you talked about this because I hear a lot of people talk about like, hey, this is how you can use business credit to buy your first property. And you had made a video where you talk about like a lot of people talking about it, but a lot of individuals really don't know how it gets done because they either haven't done it or they're doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
So what is the proper way for us to go? Let's say we wanted to leverage business credit to get our first property. What does that process look like?
So a lot of people get it confused. Like, first off, you're not really, it's cases you can do that, but we're not buying the whole house off a credit card. It's not we going there at Target and swiping it. We're liquidating the car and we put it in our checking account. Then we take the money out of our checking account and then we go and buy the house with that.
Yeah.
But the other piece is, if you buying $100,000 house, a lot of people don't got access to a $100,000 credit card.
Right.
There are credit cards like Chase can give you that, but a lot of people don't have that.
Right.
So what we do is we blend the funding. So we might use hard money lender, which makes us have a 20% down payment, and then the 20% come from the credit card. So let's say if I'm buying a house for $100,000, the lender says I need 20% down payment. That's $20,000.
Yep.
I might go to Chase, might give me a $20,000 card. They pull from Experian. Or Truist might give me a $30,000 line of credit. They pull from Equifax.
Yep.
Or Key Bank might give me a $20,000. They gave me a $20,000 line of credit years ago. I used that to buy my commercial building.
There you go.
So to cover the down payment, they pull from Equifax. And now you just take that money and then cover the down payment. So the hard money lender covers the 80%, the credit card covers the 20%. So when you buying a house, when people say buy a house is no money, it's not that it costs no money, it just then wasn't your money. So now I just mix the two funding, and then that's how they go and cover that. And how you liquidate the cards, like it's a bank in Philadelphia, it's called Freedom Credit Union.
Say it again.
Freedom Credit Union. They
Okay.
pull from Experian, and they'll give you up to $30,000 max as long as you got a 700 or higher. But then if you got like a 680, it's like 20. You got 650, it just goes down, down, down. And if you got a 600, it might give you like $3,000, $5,000. But you can always ask for increases. So I started out with with them. I started out with a $300 unsecured credit card,
Okay.
and then it bumped up over time, just paying it, playing a long game. But it took 12 months actually. But they do something called balance transfers, which a lot of banks do. Balance transfer, where you could transfer the credit card money straight to your checking account.
Yep.
Like I'm trying to save money, and I got money in my savings, but it's tight right now. I'm gonna move it to my checking. Same thing. You go to your credit card part and you just move it to your checking account. Some credit card companies, a lot of them charge you fees, or they limit how many balance transfer you can do. Freedom doesn't limit it or charge you a fee, so you literally just swap out.
So that means if I have $30,000 line of credit with Freedom, I could transfer over that full $30,000 and not have to worry about I can only transfer over $10,000 or $5,000, and there's no fees on top of that.
The whole 30.
Father, this is
The
good.
whole 30.
This is good.
Literally the whole 30.
And also as an added gem for individuals that may be listening to this and they're like, oh, I want to get access to Freedom, I don't live in Philly. You can get a foreign entity, so you can create an LLC in Philly, and then from there open an account with them.
It's a lot of different ways.
But you open an LLC there, and then from there you can now create an account with them and then get access to that line. That's good.
Yeah.
That's very, very good.
And then the other thing too is this is another little play. So if you get a house cheap enough, let's say you're buying a $20,000 house, $30,000 house, $15,000 house, I might liquidate the card and I might buy the house cash. And then when you utilizing a lender, they got purchase only money and they got purchase and rehab money. I might go to the lender and I might need rehab only money because I already own the house free and clear. They mess with you more when you don't. It's like, let's say I borrow a car from you. They'll, Marv, let me hold your car, but then can you put gas in it too? It's like, dang, you need everything from me. Let me borrow your car, but I got my own gas. I'm gonna get a car wash for you. You like, shoot, you can take the keys. So lenders, when you already own the asset and you just need rehab money, they'll get that to you no problem. Because like, dang, you got the most skin in the game. The reason why lenders charge you a down payment is so you have skin in the game. If I own the house, I have the most skin in the game. So now what I'll do is I'll buy the house off the credit card, and then I'll call the lender and I'll say I need a rehab money. But the thing is, what I do is if the rehab money, let's say for example the contractor says it's gonna cost $50,000 to fix this house up, I'll tell the lender it costs $80. So now I just built in the other $30 to pay off my card. But the lender doesn't give you all the money up front. They give it to you in draws.
Yes.
So when you fixing the house up, we do the demo first, then we do the cement stuff, and then we start doing the frame, and then we go ahead and do the plumbing, then we go ahead and do the HVAC, then we do the electric, all in that order. So I'm not gonna ask for the extra money for the tile work, because that's way down the line. I need to pay back this car before the month is out.
Right.
So I'll go ahead and say if the demo was, let's say my demo guy charged me $7,000, I'm gonna tell the lender it was $13. The framing cost me $10, I'm gonna tell them it was $16, $17. And the roof only cost me $5, I'm gonna tell them it's $8. So them extra 7s, them 6s, and them 5s add up, which all that can happen in the first week. You get that whole lump. I pay the card for the money's out.
This is good.
So that's how I gonna do it.
I don't want to put any of your
People not doing it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
That's my first time even hearing about that
That's
strategy.
gonna be the last time you heard them until somebody copy it.
So my question for you now would be, I don't know if I'll be putting any of your plugs out there. Do you have hard money lenders that you would recommend to anybody that's listening, and also title companies as well?
You can use this is lenders called iFund Cities.
Say it again.
iFund Cities. His name Chris. Tell him my name.
iFund Cities, and that's for any, regardless of whatever city or state that I,
cities.
No, I'm saying regardless of whatever city or state I live in.
That's what I'm saying. Cities. iFund Cities. They fund
all over.
Like 50 states or 45 states or something like that.
iFund Cities.
I know the owner, Chris. You look at he's on my podcast.
Got you. iFund Cities. And then do you have a title company that you would recommend?
You can just Google title companies, and because think about it, some states don't use title companies, they use closing attorneys. So you nationwide, so I can't just give one. So some people I use closing attorneys, so you just Google that.
Got you.
And then look at their reviews.
One of the biggest horror stories in this real estate space, every time I sit down with an investor, contractors. Especially if you're new and you're buying distressed properties, like you're going to have to deal with them at some point in time, like you just said, for the rehab. If I'm new to the space, whether I need a contractor to deal with a full gut or just to deal with a cosmetic work, how can I go about finding the right contractors for my rehab process?
So every area in every city has area that's getting fixed up, gentrified. So in Philadelphia, we got an area called Brewery Town. It's it's North Philly, which is, like I said, trenches, but this is the part that's getting changed. You got South Philly. South Philly got some areas. You got University City. You got, it's a bunch of places in Philly that's just getting, Starbucks are popping up. So you go to those areas on like a Monday morning, and then that's when you see the contractors coming in and out of them houses carrying sheetrock, carrying material. Their truck is parked right out front with the phone number on the side of the truck. So out of my team, like 30% came from this, other 70 from referrals and stuff like that. So, which is ultimately the best way, referral. You got your house fixed up, who did you use? But sometimes if you're new to this and you live in an environment where you don't have a lot of us are first generation just trying to make something happen.
Facts.
So you might not know somebody that already got their house fixed. You might not know somebody that owns a house. So you can't go to referral way right out the gate unless you join like somebody's community group and things like that. So what I recommend doing is go to those areas, and one, you should be driving around scoping out what's going on anyway. Right. But while you're doing it, keeping your eyes open for people that's fixing the house up. So what I'll do is I'll drive past the guy painting the front house. I'm looking at the work. It looks clean. It looks nice. And I see him doing it. And it's 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. So clearly he's pretty much, I don't know the full scope, but he's pretty much on point. Safe to say. So now I'll just be like, yo, my name is such and such. I own a couple houses in this area. I wanted to see if, I could get your number. Maybe you could check out my house. Majority of investors aren't like me, where we got work lined up. We got more than one house. So those contractors aren't good at marketing. So they're not marketing for new business while they're working on the house. But if majority investors aren't like me, that person they fixing up don't have another house for them to do anyway. So they're itching to give me their phone number because they want to get the next job. So they come down off that ladder so fast. Yo, here's my number. Boom, man, I could check this out after we leave here. I leave. Sometimes they'll pause and they'll come to my house right then and there. So I'm writing down their phone numbers. Or let's say I see God, carrying sheetrock in. Yo, can I see your sheetrock work? Can I check it out? They'll walk me right in the house. Whether the owner of the house wants that or not, they're thinking about what? Their next job. So they like, man, I just had to go ahead and do this. It might have been times people might have let somebody walk inside of my house to check the show to work. It's possible, but this is what they do. So now I see that they got their work going on. It's 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. I see they on point. I take down those phone numbers. But on the same token, when I do hire the contractor, I pay him in thirds.
Explain why.
Because as long as you pay somebody in thirds, you're always ahead of the curve. So if a house, let's say you fixing up something and it costs $3,000, $1,000 to start, 1,050%, and 1,000 when it's done, completed. I checked. We walked through this thing 2 times. Because now if I pay you 1,000 to start, that's just to buy some material, get you going. If I pay you 1,050% in, now I technically owe you money because you did more work, because you done way more work than 50%. Right. But I only paid you the second payment. So now the third payment, you're waiting for that third payment because now you're under. You get what I'm saying? Full disclosure, I had this guy, it was around COVID, he was framing the house out. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but let's say it was like a $10,000 framing job, right?
Mm.
So I'm paying him in thirds, 33, 33, whatever. And his guys caught COVID.
Mm.
And he was like, yo, my guys caught COVID, slow down. Then he got COVID. He was like, yo, I'm gonna get back next week. The next week after. So it's like 2-3 weeks. I'm like, yo,
what's going on?
Because I got hard money. I got
Yep.
I got fees. Every day I'm not in the house doing something, it's costing me money.
Yeah.
Because you got per day interest.
Yep.
So now I'm like, all right, bro, are you coming back or no?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, no, I'm gonna come back. So I put somebody else in the house, right? And what happens, I found out it wasn't that he wasn't coming back. He was squeezing in other jobs to make up for the 2 weeks he lost. Bigger jobs, $10,000, $20,000. Because in his eyes, he only had another $3,300 payment to pick up. So he's like, man, I need to make up another 10 or 20. So he started picking up other jobs. But the fact of the matter, it was only $3,300. It was $3,300 to him, but it really was like $1,000 worth of framing work left. Mm-hmm. So I just paid somebody $1,000 to finish up. You get what I'm saying? So now I'm always ahead of the curve versus them. Mm-hmm. But when you give the contractor too much and they ahead of the curve, now they can play with you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
all the leverage.
Yo, exactly. Because now I would have had to wait for him to come back because if I gave him too much money to finish. But because I only gave him a little bit of money, I can just go to anybody else. Now, if he don't show up, that's his fault. He just lost out. Mm-hmm. So that's why you pay him in thirds.
So now once we go, we got the property, we secured the property, we fixed up the property. Now we want to go ahead. We talked about after repair value. We want to be able to pull some of that money out. You touched on it a little bit earlier. What does the refinance process typically look like for me if as a newer investor, if this is my first investment property?
So when you're refinancing a property, you're going to a traditional bank, but you bought the property in your business name, so you can't just go to a regular bank and get like a regular mortgage. You have to go ahead and get a commercial mortgage. And with the commercial mortgages or a DSCR loan, debt service coverage ratio, they're going off of the income of the property. So this is where it gets good because now you don't need tax returns, you don't need W-2s, none of that stuff. Some banks will still ask for tax returns, but some don't. Or it's been times they ask for tax returns, I never send them in, and then they still finance the deal because they're going off to the income. Is the income from the property going to be enough to service the debt? So basically, if your mortgage is $2,000 a month, but it's a triplex, you're getting $2,000 a unit, you're making $6,000, and the mortgage is $2,000. They're like, shoot, this makes sense. We can finance this. Right. So you want to go to one of them type of banks. And then some lenders do short-term to perm, which is even better.
What is that?
So when you're buying a house with a hard money lender, short-term is a 12-month loan. That's short-term. Perm is 30-year mortgage. So some lenders will offer an all-in-one financing where you start with us, you finish with us. We do short-term to perm financing. So you start with us and you refinance out with us. So not a lot of them do that, but there are some lenders that do that. I think, Chris, iFund Cities, I think they do that.
Okay.
I have a lender that I utilize a lot for my refinances. I give them a name. It's called Burr Loans, BRRR loans. They're on Instagram. His name Joel. But I utilize him a lot. So basically, you find one of them banks, and then it's pretty much like a 4 or 5 week process. You start week 1, put in your application, put all your paperwork together. They call and order an appraisal. Appraisal is when somebody come out to justify the value. Because I tell them the house is worth $500, but they need to send somebody out to make sure it's worth $500,000. But the thing is, the property need to be rented first because you refinancing based off of you having income coming in. So you need to make sure the property is rented because when an appraiser comes and it's empty, they're going to be like, yo, something not going on, and they're not going to be able to clear the loan because how you going to have rents coming in to service the debt if there's no income? So we've done stuff like this where we'll go ahead and if I'm not trying to waste no time, I'm looking for tenants while I'm doing a refi at the same time, I'll go and stage the property. So I'll throw some dirty clothes in the corner. I'll throw an empty box over there. I just did this last week. And then I did a lot. And just throw a toothbrush in the sink, make it look like somebody in there. He comes in and be like, man, they living dirty. That ain't my problem. So then now they go ahead and clear my loan, which they go ahead and stamp it. And they'll say, okay, the value is worth this. Now we can go ahead and give you 75 to 80% whatever it's worth. So if the building is worth $100,000, they'll give you $75,000 to $80,000. But if it costs you $50,000 to buy and fix it up, there's a difference of 50 and 75. That 25,000 you keep tax free because it's a loan. You don't pay taxes on the loan. So now, after they're going to clear that, then you pretty much just wait another 2-3 weeks of them just doing the paperwork.
The biggest risk that most entrepreneurs take is trying to build a successful business without funding. But that risk is a reality for 1 out of every 3 entrepreneurs because their personal credit isn't where it needs to be in order for them to access that capital. Now, the truth is you can close the gap between where your business is versus where you want it to be by leveraging business credit, but if your personal credit report is poor, 99% of banks and lenders are going to deny you from doing so. And I should know, because a couple of years ago, I leveraged my personal credit report to get funding from Chase to start my company. And now that very same company, Takeoff Financial, is serving entrepreneurs just like you that are looking to restore their credit to get access to 5 to 6 figures in funding. So if you want to go from risk to reward, click the link above or below this video to schedule your free consultation so that we can restore your credit and put you in position to access capital to build the business of your dreams.
You actually just beat me to the punch because that was actually going to be my next question because I've spoken with a couple investors when you have, I believe the appraiser, when the appraiser comes, have all these different like strategies and things like that they do when the appraiser. I've had investors, black investors that have said like they've had like white families like literally go and be inside the property when an appraiser comes. Some people, you talked about like having like clothes and stuff like that all over. Newt, when I had him on, he said he had like toothpaste residue in the sink. And he had people
we do all of that.
So that's a real thing. And it makes a difference in terms of the overall appraising of the house.
It doesn't make a difference. Well, that part is not the difference of the value. It just makes them seem like somebody's living in there so the loan can clear. I don't know about the white family thing. I never done no stuff like that. I'm not going to sit here and lie. But what I do is I don't let the appraiser go to the house without me. Is it a lockbox? No, it's no lockbox. I got to be there. And what I do is I look up my own comps, comparable houses, and I print that sheet out and I have it right there and I give it to them. So you have to give me this number because I showed you proof of 3 other houses that sold in this area for this number. And then we didn't talk about this. So, you know, you said like I got 8 million in houses. They all in the same 2 zip codes. So I got appraisals and numbers for everything. Like I own house. I got houses where I got blocks where I own 3-4 houses on the same block.
It's back to back to back to back.
Yeah, if you go down, they all the same color. They all the same everything. So you can't tell me that's not worth there because across the street is that next door. I got houses where they next door to each other. Next door came in for that. Next door came like all this stuff. I got the math. So I give them that sheet. In old appraisals, you have to give me my number. So I never done that whole like put a white family in. That sound crazy.
Bro, I've heard some stories.
I've never done nothing like that. And then I got friends that invest, so we all buy in the same area. Like,
got you.
So my homie, my next door neighbor. So I'll be like, yo, let me hold your paperwork, and then I share like that.
Last part of the process, of course, you slightly touched on it earlier on, the tenants. Even for yourself as a seasoned investor, it seems like you never really get to a point where you're 100% like I will never have any problems with any tenants up in here because people
lying.
Right. What are some of from your years and experience being in space, different things that I can do to at least give myself the best chance to where when I'm looking at, first off, where am I finding these people to put in the property? And what are the different things I need to make sure I'm looking for up front to at least give me the best chance to make sure I'm not putting not putting a bozo in there that's going to go ahead and give me headaches later on.
The best thing, so I'm about to give you a lot. The best thing I would say is make sure you, first and foremost, make sure your paperwork right. Make sure you have your rental license, rental suitability, have all your paperwork right. Because if a tenant, this get deep. So when your paperwork is all right, if they decide to not pay, you can just submit it and get the process going. You can pay a lawyer $1,000, $1,500. They'll handle the whole thing, or you can go through the process yourself. Like in Philly, it's gonna be 3 months minimum because they had to do this pretty much like a diversion. So it's the dumbest stuff. So basically, you stop paying. I got to give you 30 days notice of me saying, yo, I'm about to do it, so I'm going to give you another chance. It's retarded, but that's how it works. After that 30 days of them still standing on business that they don't want to pay, then you go ahead and wait for the court date, which is another 30 days. Then if you go into court and you win that court date, then you have to wait 10 days for them to then decide they want to pay you back the money again. If you waited 60 days not to pay, why we keep giving them all these chances? So then after the 10 days, then you can go ahead and apply to have the sheriff come, which then they set that date out. So pretty much like 90 days, like 3 months. So, but if you think about it, as long as my paperwork is right, from the day they don't pay, I can just wait. If I can deal with 3 months, they can get out. I don't have to do anything extra. The city will handle that problem for me. And some cities is shorter than that, some cities is longer. But as long as your paperwork is right, worst case scenario, I can just go through this process and get them out. But on the front end, you want to vet, no evictions. I don't care what happened, no evictions. Like I don't care what happened under the guys, no evictions at all. And they make 3 times the income. You may want to slight that a little bit, but like make sure the money is there. If you like some of my apartments, I got apartments that's like $1,200, $1,250, $1,500. I got apartments $2,000. If they don't make enough money to cover it, then you gotta think about it. If the apartment is $2,000 a month and they're making $3,000 a month, like you want to have some other stuff that come in that you may choose before me, especially if they know the system. So it's like, why even put yourself in that position? Also, too, whether it's you vetting them, or your property manager, like really get a feel for them. You can I read bullshit, so I can just like, this is not funny. It's not. I stick with my gut seriously, and every time I went against my gut, it backfired on me every single time. So I'm like, you can just kind of feel like this kind of BS. They coming late, like just certain things you can just tell. So that's the front end, which isn't perfect, but that's the front end piece to help. And then the other thing is too, I was always taught, you let somebody disrespect you, they're gonna keep doing it.
Facts.
If they try that stuff the very first time, hey, look, listen, I'm gonna be a little later or X, Y, and Z, you put a 10-day notice to quit on their door. That money come the next day. I thought I was gonna, I told you I was gonna pay. It's cool. I just wanted to put this out there, X, Y, and Z. That money come the next day. And they like, okay, I can't play with this guy. The second you say, all right, cool, just, next week is cool, we can set that date, then they do it the next month.
Yep.
Then they do it the next month. The next it's 2-week problem. Next it's a 3-week problem. Next it's a month problem. Next thing I'm going to just double up next month. But if you start it the same day they do that, so if the rent is due between the 1st and the 5th, and they don't have that money by the 5th, the 6th or the 7th or the 8th, you need to put that notice on their door and start that process. And then they know, like, I can't play with him because of, this, that, and that. So but here's another little thing that I go ahead and do, right? I do midterm rentals. So midterm rentals is pretty much VR. You know what, short-term like Airbnb, people stay for a night or 2 nights.
VRBO, things like that.
I do midterm. So midterm is VRBO or furnish finders. So basically like traveling nurses. It might I had truck drivers where like, I'm servicing this area, local rides in this part in Philadelphia, so I need a place to stay for a month. Like I had all different types of people. And with VRBO, they got to pay for that, and they have to stay at least 30 days. So like, I had somebody stay for a year with me, and say somebody stay for like 6 months. So what happens is they got to pay for the whole thing up front. So you got your 6 months up front.
Yeah.
Not to mention with VRBO, you charge, if the regular rent is, like I got an apartment that's the regular rent $1,300, I charge $2,000 because it's VRBO is a little bit higher. This is where you finesse them at. The only catch is you covering the electric bill and the utilities. I only do electric and I only do water. I don't do no gas. So this is where you finesse them at. A month before they stay is up, hey, how did you like it? I love this place, everything, boom, boom, boom. Do you have to go back wherever, or you plan on staying like in, Philly? They like, no, I love it here, X, Y. All right, instead of $2,000, what if I drop the rent to $1,900 or $1,850 and you cover the utilities and you gonna be a permanent tenant? They be like, oh yeah, let's do that. I was only supposed to get $1,200 to rip if I did it locally to people that know that area. I got somebody from out of town
that doesn't know
just
the market,
in, don't know nothing like that, and they end up locking in on that number. So now they locked under that math for X amount of time. But I got a more qualified person, because remember, they was paying this stuff up front.
Right.
You get what I mean?
So financially, they got it.
And I know they got it.
So
we still do you still do the background checks. You still do all the stuff on them too, anyway.
Right.
So now but furnished finders, VR will give you a better pool of individuals, I would say. So that's how I turn some of my midterm people into long-term people.
I love it. Listen, no better way to close out. My guy, Derek Boone, you came on here and gave the Game on Topic game. I appreciate you immensely, my brother. Before we, of course, let you get out of here, for those who don't know, let them know where they can find you. And also let them know what you got going on.
Yeah. First, though, I want to say I appreciate you, bro, for just, putting stuff like this together.
Sure.
I think this is decent because, a lot of times people look for all the gossip and all the, I don't listen to none of that stuff. So having a platform where, and then the other thing, too, is a lot of people, households don't have, a lot of people are in environments where they can't say I want to be a millionaire or I want to buy a jet or I want to just make more money because then somebody's like, dang, why you even thinking about that? That ain't going to happen to you. So you putting together a platform where people can just think freely, talk freely, and feel freely about things they want to do and not be looked at as crazy. So, I want to give you your flowers
Appreciate
for
it.
even, putting this. But on Instagram is DS. I just got my Instagram back
an
hour ago. On Instagram is DS BOONE. Boone is my last name. They've been calling me that since I was a kid. I just ran with it. Philadelphia real estate investor. We do free classes all the time. It's what I think about is I just want to build soldiers outside, build business partners. So I had these free classes to help people learn how to get involved. And then they might shoot a deal to me, and then we can partner on the deal, might buy something, flip it. I partner with a lot of people. So you just got to go to funditandclose.com. And you can just see the date. The next day you're available. You can just jump on, and it's 100% free. You log in. If you don't like it, you can log right off. You don't get charged nothing. And then hopefully, you can learn some stuff, get started, and then you might send me a deal back. And I play the long game for everything. So I'm not worried about nothing right now. I'm thinking about later down the road.
I love it. So make sure you guys get tapped in and wrapped in with my guy, Derek Boone. And as always, if you haven't already, what are you doing? Take a second, take a minute, take an hour out of your day right here, right now to go ahead, slap the like button, show this episode some love, and tell a friend to come back and watch the episode again. As always, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Marvin Francois. That's Derek Boone. Y'all have been good. We've been great. This has been amazing. Thank you. God bless. Peace.